Hello, welcome to the Big Scuba Show.
Hi everyone, and my name is Andreas Atkins. I'm the country manager for IONITY, the ultra-fast electric vehicle charging business. And I'm here on the Big Scuba podcast with Gemma and Ian.
So here we are, once again.
Hello, welcome to the Big Scuba podcast. This is episode 145.
Yes.
And I'm with my co-host, Ian.
Yes.
Hello.
I am your dive master for today.
Good. So we're currently recording. We've just finished a litter pick in Norwich. We were due to be diving the river, but I've got a hand injury.
You are injured?
Hand injury, open wound, so not allowed to obviously.
Yeah, you don't want to be getting in that water
No.
with dodgy hand like that.
Infection free.
Yeah.
So we helped out our friends at the Green Party and did a litter pick on land, and we accumulated.
We were on the surface, weren't we? Yeah. There was the canoe club, Eagle Canoe Club next door. Some of them were out on the river, weren't they?
Yeah, so they had their canoes, and it was amazing the amount of rubbish we collected in a small
Loads.
space of.
This is the amazing thing about it, and it's only a short period of time you can collect quite a lot of waste.
Yeah, majority was bottles, cans, litter, general litter.
There was one of them safety rings somebody was after.
Yeah, there was a bike.
An inflatable
Yeah.
had been left behind.
Found a shaver.
You had an eye on a nice leopard
fleece.
skin rug
Blanket. Yeah.
that somebody left behind.
Yeah, so all sorts, but yeah, it was great to see.
I did bag that up if you wanted that, if you're going to give it a wash, take home.
No, so it was great to see plenty of people volunteering.
Yeah, good turnout.
Yeah.
This time it was organised by Councillor Gary Champion, who organised it, and has been rallying around, telling everybody it was coming up.
Yeah, and he was supported by, what's his name?
Peter?
Peter.
Yeah.
Yes, so he's usually, has ran it before, hasn't he?
Yeah,
But he was there
yeah.
as a
So
participant.
we was in a different spot that we've done before. Today, the organisers have been asked to concentrate on this meadow, which is a really nice spot actually in the summer in Norwich, called Anderson's Meadow. Yeah, and that's a really nice area. But unfortunately, like a lot of parks these days, they get
a little bit abused.
a little bit abused with litter and things. So, but soon picked up and cleared up a bin bag full.
Yep.
And those bin bags that I bought, 100 litres, we filled them up.
Yeah, and it was nice to see a couple of passers-by said doing a good job.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that was,
I'd
very
like to
nice.
have done some drone footage, but I can't do any drone footage there because it's in a controlled no-flight zone. It's right near the airport there. So no drone work, unfortunately, there.
Safety first, and that's the most important thing. So
Don't want any hassles like that.
yeah, so keep an eye on social media. There'll be a few pictures from today of us with our big scuba gear on.
Not drone stuff, just
Not
normal,
diving.
just normal stuff, and unfortunately no diving on this one.
No, but we'll be hopefully doing it again in June. And
Yes.
in the river, and
Yeah.
in the water.
Yeah, we'll be sharing about that as we lead up to that one.
Yeah.
And all being well, we will be in our full face masks.
Yes, which leads us on nicely to our weekend. Last weekend, we were
Just qualified.
just qualified. Yeah.
In fact, I'm just looking at the time, 2:20. That was about the time I just done my out of air scenario, and
Yeah.
mask off.
So it was a very cold day at Gildenberg Lake in Cambridgeshire near Whittlesea. There was snow on the ground when we left home,
Yeah,
but the sun came out. It was a lovely day, but obviously just a bit chilly. Temperature was 5 to 6 degrees.
yeah.
And yeah, so we did our 2 dives, did our skills with John Osmond, who was our instructor,
Yeah.
and 2 other participants.
Brilliant
Yeah.
instructor. I've not done any courses with John before, and it's so nice to see an instructor, taking time, make sure you're right.
Yeah, he really did.
Nice hat as well, I have to say. Presented us all with a beanie hat to
He did.
start the day.
So we got a beanie hat, we got a
With
white...
ocean reef on.
Yeah, which we all wore, and that kept us very warm.
Yeah.
We got sort of a drying mask, cloth to wipe our masks down as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
So hand warmers
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah,
we're well
really
looked
good.
after.
Yeah, very well looked after.
So, and the other two guys on the course was Phil Hawkins and Bobby, a lady called Bobby.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
They did really well. And then John Osmond
And
was
Steve Lyons was dive
our
master.
dive master, yeah. So,
Yeah.
and they looked after us, fabulously.
Yeah, yeah, both great team, and totally recommend. If you're going to be, we're going to be sharing about this, and this is literally just the start of us diving in these full face masks. And I've got some plans to do with mine. I'm going to be customising it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you exactly what's going on, but
Watch
if you
this space.
watch this space, I'm looking forward to having that done. And then probably going to have a torch. I quite like the idea of having a torch. You can have them adapted, so you can have torches on the side as well.
Yeah, I was going to mount my GoPro on top.
Yeah, GoPro on top.
So that's
yeah.
the next thing to
yeah.
do. So, but hopefully we'll be in the water. But we've booked a pool session, haven't we? Just
Yeah.
to do, just to brush up on our skills.
Do
so we can in
skills.
water.
Yeah.
Make sure our hoods are all sorted, and then we'll be ready to jump in open water again.
Yeah, I'm going to be changing my hood because I think my hood was too thick, and I found it quite a job to get a good seal with the hood that I've got. It's quite a thick
'cause
03 hood.
It's got seams on as well.
I've been talking to 03 and Crystal Seas as well about hoods as well, about changing mine.
Yeah, but all in all, it was a fab Saturday, and came away fully qualified, signed off, ready to jump.
Absolutely,
in the water.
looking forward to it. Beep, Channel 1, and and the Neptune 3 masks is a really smart piece of kit.
It is. It looks really good. Phil had one as well, didn't he? So the three of us in Neptune 3s.
Yeah. And divers like kit, don't they? You tech divers, you love the kit, don't you? You only got to walk down Stony Cove and rebreathers are all on show, and and I get that, and
Wait till we walk down there. With
exactly,
our masks on.
and it's really cool, and you'll like them, I think.
Yeah. So personally, I really feel much happier in my full face mask.
Yeah.
Breathing, no regulator in your mouth. So we popped everything on our website as well, so that you can look at the Neptune 3s.
Can you buy them from us?
Yes, you can. So, which is great. And all you need to do is just go to the website, www.bigscuba.com, and you can buy a package. So it's not buying all the components, it's just what you need.
We've bundled it up.
Yeah, what you need to get in the water is the bundle.
Yeah, so based on what we've got and what we're using, we thought it'd be best to do is make it easy for our listeners and people that follow us who will be seeing us dive in them, that if you want the same as us, there's the price. And we've managed to draw in all the bits and pieces from, because that's what we had to do.
It's not too complicated, is it?
No, it's not. But, with Ocean Reef, only supply the comms and the mask, and then you have to go somewhere else to go get the quick connections.
Yeah,
and
so
that
should we
sort of
say
stuff.
what's in the bundle?
Yeah, good idea. So in the bundle, you get a Neptune 3 mask and backpack.
And the extender frame on the
With the extender
mask.
frame.
Yeah.
Everything you need on that mask, which comes as standard as a Neptune 3 mask, and that comes with the backpack.
Yes, so you get a rucksack backpack. Which
is really cool.
Yeah.
How many comments did I get at the Go Dive show with that backpack?
That's
I like that. That's a smart bag. Where'd you get that?
So you can store your mask in it, plus everything else. It comes with a changing mat as well.
Yeah.
That's in a black-blue combination. So you've got your mask, your backpack, and then comms kit, the Mercury comms kit.
The Mercury digital
Yes.
comms kit. There's two. One's analog. We've got the Mercury digital.
Yeah.
So this package includes the digital communications kit.
Yeah. Then there is a connector so that you can adapt your own regs, so that you can have a quick release.
Yeah, it's a quick release male adapter that goes on your stage 2, and you basically leave that on there. Mm-hmm. The bundle also include the male and female connectors, so that the female goes on to your existing hose.
where your regulators come
Yeah,
off.
and so you can easily interchange if you decide to, rather than having to unscrew everything. If you want to come off the full face mask and say, yeah, your next dive you're going to go into a half mask, then you haven't got to unscrew everything.
No spanners needed.
It literally just pops off.
Yeah.
You know, like a standard connection.
Yeah, yeah. So it's all very easy. It was really easy to set up as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
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 And then the other thing that you get in the package is a strap that goes on the back of the existing straps on the mask, just to make it you can put it on and off a bit
and
easier.
you know, for anyone who's thinking about buying one, I think this would be something we'd like to do is, if you're thinking about buying one, perhaps we can do a Zoom and help you set it up. So because I think you know, although the instructions are all there, they're all in English, whatever, and you can easily follow them, but if you want and you want a bit of handheld holding while you set it up, then we'll do that for you.
Yeah, and we had that service from Craig, didn't we? So, which was really helpful, and just got us all set up so we're ready to dive in the water without.
Yeah, so we're booked some time in the pool to just go through the skills again.
Yeah.
In a couple of weeks' time, and hopefully we'll be diving very soon.
Yes, yeah, and get in the water. So keep a check. We'll be putting details about the bundle on our social media, but the actual price of the bundle is £1,979 all in.
That's everything.
Yeah.
Everything. That's including postage. It's including all those bits and pieces that we just said, and that'll be you started full face diving.
Yeah, and then all you need to do is
book up a course,
get the course done, and then you're qualified to jump in the water.
Yeah. So again, there's details of how you can book no matter what part of the country that you're in. If you're listening to this, there's information on there of where you can go to book your course.
Yeah. So that's our main bit of news, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So, obviously, business as usual. Lots of things happening on social media, and just keep an eye out. We're doing a lot of work with Waterhall, Sea Lion paddleboards.
Yeah.
So, and Fourth Element.
Yeah. So lots going on. We literally just revamped our website and got that up to date to reflect these full face masks, and also our merch.
Yes.
Because we've got some new merch.
And our sponsor.
Because we've got a lovely sponsor who, as many of you will know, in the diving world, Narked at 90, John and Brent, long-time divers. And if you're in the tech world particularly, and you're looking for somewhere to get your rebreathers serviced, or you've got an issue, you want to get some advice, then you need to look up narkedat90.com and make contact, because those guys will sort you out.
And if you've got a question about equipment, just ask them, because they will have the answer as well, which is a great service. Yeah. So, check out our website, www.thebigscuba.com.
Yeah, everything is all on there.
Yeah, so let us know what you think.
So, that's a bit about full face mask, and like I say, it is literally just the start, and there'll be more stuff to come. We'll be boring you silly about full face mask diving.
I don't think we're going to get bored, are we?
No, can't wait. So we invited our guests on, didn't we? We spoke to Ford, didn't we, a few weeks ago?
Yeah, Ford UK, who obviously we work with quite closely, and we've been talking about electric cars, EV cars, hybrid cars. Because
they are going to be part of the diving world, because what are you going to use? You've got to get all your gear to the dive site, haven't you? No matter where you
wheels,
are, and whether we like it or we don't like them. Electric vehicles are going to play a bigger and bigger part in our everyday life, and in the diving world as well.
And it's through Ford. We had a Ford e-Transit that we came across IONITY. They are a European fast charging company, but they're supported by car manufacturers and an investor, so it makes them slightly different.
So all the car manufacturers own a piece of IONITY and helped set it up in the first place. Then BlackRock Investments got involved and gave them another wad of cash to take the business even further. So they're opening up all these brands and what have you, and we thought it was really relevant. And IONITY have been involved in diving world before. as well. They've been doing quite a bit with Dan Europe, and it was an obvious choice from Ford to get involved with IONITY and have a chat with them.
Yeah. So again, the connection is not super Scuba, but it's a part of education and an education for the future of the EV.
But it is, because at the end of the day, if we want a cleaner world, the combustion engine is not the future.
No.
It's not. It's not the future. I said before, I love the sound of a V8 and a V10, or V12 or whatever. And, those days are going to be numbered. We'll be limited to a smaller, them as a classic. But the future is the electric car.
Yeah.
That's the way it's going.
So learning about, the options for charging, fast charging is really important.
It is. And I can think of quite a few divers who already got electric cars, Teslas, and the little Citroens and the little other Fords and things, So there is, there's quite a few divers we know already use electric or hybrid. We had a hybrid car, didn't we? We went to Scotland.
Yes, yeah.
And how good was that?
Perfect.
That was a really good car.
Yeah.
That Cougar, that was a really good car. Really pleased with that.
Yeah, so we spoke to Andreas Atkins. He's the country UK manager for Ireland.
For Ireland and UK. Yeah.
And we spoke to him. We were actually sitting in a Ford Mustang Mach-E.
A beautiful car. And it's blue. It's like ice blue.
Yeah.
And it looks silver, but it's got a blue tint. And if you can find a Mustang Mach-E in that colour, wow, what a beautiful looking car.
It was really smart. So we picked that up for the day from Hammonds of Halesworth and were supported. So thank you to John Barker.
John Barker from AW&D Hammond Limited. They do Ford and I think they do Nissan as well. So look them up, especially if you're in the Norfolk area. Yep.
So there we were, sitting in a Mustang Mach-E under a wind turbine as well, creating green energy. So
because why would you not? If you're going to interview the head man of one of the future charging companies, who they specialise in, their power comes from green sources. Why would you not interview him underneath a wind turbine?
Yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it? It was a beautiful day. The wind was windy.
Blimey, that was really flying, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it was a really interesting conversation with Andreas, and if you don't know anything about the charging world, you'll learn something definitely.
You will, and I learned something about, I don't want to give the game away because you need to listen, but how things are going to be flipped on the head a bit as time progresses and these vehicles progress. So look out for that, and I'm like, what? Oh yeah, of course.
So that's all in the interview. Yeah, so it's really interesting. And we still asked Andreas our usual set questions, just tailored them a bit, which was really good at the end. Details of IONITY are in the show notes.
Yeah, all be on there. Perhaps you could let us know if you've got a electric car, how you're getting on with it, how you're finding it. That'd be cool. Which one have you got?
Yeah.
How are you getting on with that with your dive gear? Are you getting everything in?
What was the transition like from fuel to electric?
Yeah. Does it affect your diving? Because, you got to factor in the charge maybe. So can you still get as many dives in during the day? We don't know.
Yeah. So, and if you use IONITY fast charging points, let us know how you get on and where you are
do you
in the
like
country.
them?
So they're
all
over
purple,
Europe.
aren't they? That was the one that was purple.
Yeah, we used it on our way back from Stony, didn't we?
Yeah, had all purple light in there. Oh, looked quite
high
cool,
tech.
didn't it?
Yeah. So, and it was one of the easiest charging points we used.
It was actually. Yeah, to be fair.
Yeah. So, it was really interesting. So, this is episode 145.
Wow.
And Andreas Atkins.
145 episodes.
3 years,
3 years, 145 episodes, and 128 countries.
Amazing. That's 129 now.
Is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Somebody's just jumped on, have they?
Another country. So, send us a message and let us know where you're listening from.
That's always good. We need to say, actually, thinking about that, we've had a few messages from people this week who want to say thank you very much for getting in contact I can't remember your names, but thank you very much you know who you are if you're listening. So thank you very much for saying hello and making contact.
Yeah, and it is
so
really
we have
nice,
some future guests.
We have, yes. Yeah.
In fact, should we just mention we've got somebody ex-SAS coming on?
Yeah, we've got a few podcasts lined up. So we've got a couple of people that have written books, but one of them is ex-military diver.
Yeah, there'll be more about that nearer the time, but he's ex-SAS, which can be quite interesting, hearing about their view on how diving was for them.
Yeah, so it's been really interesting. And then we've got some plans for the future, a couple of trips down south.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, be more, but I can't really say at the minute because we're under embargo not making public. But yeah, we're on the travels again shortly.
Yeah. So
the Mary Rose Project, they have got a special day coming up.
Yep. So they have created a 4D experience where you can sit in a cinema, 40 seats, and it will take you through a dive on the Mary Rose.
How cool is that?
Yeah, and even the seats move. So it's a real interactive experience, and that opens at the end of the month, and we'll be going down.
It's on the 30th, isn't it?
Yeah, for an evening launch. Yeah. So we'll actually experience it. So we'll tell you more about that. But if you do want to get down there ASAP after it opens, which April onwards.
Yeah.
And experience a dive
because
on
they just
the
had
Mary
that big
Rose.
anniversary as well, haven't they? 40 years.
Yeah.
So which I'm sure you remember the lifting of it.
I do.
Anyway, so that'll be out. That's happening on the 30th, and we'll be sharing about that on the day and also just afterwards. But go to the website and have a look.
And thank you to the Mary Rose Trust for inviting us down. And I recently went to the museum with my parents, and it was just stunning.
It's good, isn't it? If you haven't been, you need to go because it's worth. Take the kids. Kids will love it as well. My kids went. We went just before the lockdowns and had a really good time there.
Yeah, definitely worth seeing. And it's not just the Mary Rose Museum on
Promise
that site.
you, not just saying it. That is a really good time.
It's part of our history, so it's really and what people went through to discover it and excavate it and actually raise it as well, which was so we'll put the links to that in the show notes. But if you can get down to Portsmouth anytime April onwards, go check it out.
Yeah, do that.
Today's episode is sponsored by Narked at 90, so let's find out a bit more about them. Narked at 90, their tagline has been beyond technical, which describes them pretty well. John Routley and Brent Hudson launched the company over 20 years ago. They are both technical divers who have logged thousands of mixed gas dives between them over a 30-year period. Using their engineering know-how and diving expertise have developed bespoke, personal, commercial and military diving equipment and products of a universally recognised, unparalleled calibre.
Their ability to be adaptive and versatile with their developments led them to support the NHS during COVID. Using their superior knowledge of breathing and oxygen monitoring systems to help develop emergency ventilators. They also design and supply the sneaky stuff used by defence-based development groups throughout the Western world, although they can't tell us much about that. If you're thinking of moving across to tech diving or completely new to diving, Narked at 90 can advise and guide on the best equipment and setup for your personal or commercial requirements. Narked at 90 have unparalleled experience of shearwater dive computers and are the longest serving and sole and UK European service centre for those. They are happy to offer technical support, servicing, repairs and upgrades to all shearwater computers, past and present. Narked at 90 stock shearwater computers but are also stockers and technical support centre for many other manufacturers including Divesoft, JJCCR, Hollis, Revo and Kiss rebreathers.
Based centrally in the UK, Narked at 90 also offer full rebreather head servicing for selected manufacturers.
Bespoke cable assemblies.
Advice on specific fitting requirements.
Suggestions and guidance for home builds.
Computer laser cutting and engraving.
Pressure testing to simulate 400-metre dives.
So, Narked at 90, a reputation built on supporting both manufacturers and divers worldwide.
Go to narkedat90.com and make sure you are following their social media to keep up to date with their latest news and offers.
Narked at 90, large enough to cope, small enough to care. So, Andreas, welcome to the Big Scuba podcast. It's lovely to have you with us on location.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
Great. So, obviously, our audience is worldwide. Some of them are scuba divers, some of them are not divers. But can you just explain what IONITY is and what you do?
Yes. So IONITY is an ultra-fast electric vehicle charging business. We are a joint venture from a number of our shareholders. It's a joint venture between the car manufacturers, Mercedes, BMW Group, Audi, Porsche, Hyundai, Kia, and Ford. Mm-hmm. They've collaborated to establish a high power charging network that spans 24 countries across Europe. It's a work in progress. The ambition is ultimately every 60 to 80 miles to have a high power charging hub all the way across Europe, from Lapland down to the south of Italy.
Wow. Yeah. Have you got any plans to expand further afield than Europe?
No, it's a European network.
Yeah.
It's to help support EV drivers and the sale of the vehicle. People understand quite well, if I can charge at home or at work and these kind of things, but often the question comes up, what if I make a longer distance journey? And then this is where the IONITY solution comes in. So the driver then has that option, that pass, if you like, to access the IONITY network to enable travel intercity within the country and also internationally as well.
Yeah. We wanted to get you on, and we get questioned, because we are a scuba diving podcast. Why do we get people like Ford on and now yourselves? And it is relevant because as divers, we're consumers. As consumers, we're conscious as well. And as time go on, electric vehicles are going to play a bigger and bigger part in the diving world, and some may not be open to that straight away, and a lot of us are, and we it's going to play a bigger part of that. So it is relevant that we talk to you and find out why. Where did the original idea of IONITY come from? Because it's quite unusual that car manufacturers get together, and such a broad range of car manufacturers get together to come up with this idea of having one sustainable fast charging company.
Yes. The company was formed back in 2017, and as I mentioned, it was a joint venture between the car manufacturers who decided to collaborate to help the net zero transition in terms of transport. I guess this ties in with what you do and the interests are. It's about helping to build a sustainable future. If we're going to get to net zero, we have to, as part of that, tackle transport. It contributes about 1/3 of carbon emissions. The other major contributor, of course, is heating. But we have to tackle transport as part of that transition, which includes road transport, and also we're now starting to see some of the maritime sector now also actually moving to electric, which potentially could be relevant. It's outside of our business, but this is sort of the next stage, if you like, really.
And today we took the opportunity to do this recording underneath one of the wind turbines that we got in our local area in an electric car by it's been kindly lent to us by Hammonds of Halesworth. It's a Ford Mustang fully electric car, Mach-E, and it's a great spot. And you think, wow, do you know what, this is this is the future.
I agree. I think the electric vehicle industry, I've worked in this industry for nearly 12 years now. I started back in 2012. I remember in the UK at that time, I think there was about 400 plug-in electric cars. So quite a lot's evolved already over that time period. And this industry for me is really a convergence of the energy industry and the transport industry. If you're going to make the switch to renewables, solar and wind, as where you are now, you need to use that power straight away when the wind's blowing or the sun's shining, or store it somewhere, which means batteries.
Yeah.
And we do have stationary storage around on the grid and on in private land, but also the cars themselves offer a mechanism for that too. You know, when we have millions of EVs on the road, there's millions of batteries that are constantly plugging in and out of the grid, and as well as filling up the cars for travel, hopefully using renewable energy. There's also that mechanism to take energy out of the cars when they're plugged into homes, to take a house off grid, for example, in an evening, and have it powered by the car. So the cars have the potential to help balance the grid moving forwards.
Do you think that message comes across strongly at the moment? Because you know, that's a real game changer to think that that your car potentially in time could run, you know, a lot of your
washing machine,
your washing machine and things like that, and that's such a big saving for, you know, for a lot of families.
I guess it depends on at what point and what cost that battery was filled up, but the premise is that the car battery would be fueling what it was plugged into, i.e. a house, a little bit like the portable charger on a mobile phone. And it's about trying to flatten out some of the peaks on demand on the grid. In the UK, I think it's more or less sort of more or less about 5 to 9 p.m. peak load on the grid. The premise that you arrive home, if you've got off-street parking, plug the car in, you don't arrive home with no fuel left, as you wouldn't do in a petrol or diesel car. And the idea is then that you then, with what's left in the battery, you can power the house, i.e. take it off grid. So you remove that spike because you're taking millions of homes potentially off grid, and then the AI manages it for you, and at a certain point it flips, and then you start fueling the vehicle again overnight, potentially by wind, and then you drive the next day to work, wherever that might be, on that renewable energy. That's sort of the premise behind it. It's more of a nascent technology that that will be worked on, but I believe it's something there for the future. It was originally, I think, in Japan they developed it. It was in the main they have a lot of earthquakes there, and it was sort of to cater for or at least have the potential to help towards power outages as a result of the quakes.
I know in America, I've seen Ford with their F-150 Lightning. Some of their media has been showing some of the tradespeople who've got them are then using their power tools being powered by the truck and the transit as well. And you know, that's a brilliant way of doing it, you know, because as a consumer, you know, moving into this sort of world, you think, well, you know, the batteries are still in this, you know, we're building the technology for these batteries, and it's really cool that we could, you know, your vehicle that you buy can then recharge the tools while you're at work. Because a lot of divers, you know, we use our vans for, you know, our trades during the week, and then, you know, to go diving or paddleboard and whatever weekends.
I'm sure. I'm personally quite excited about
that must be an exciting place to work.
The VW ID Buzz that's due to come out. That I think they said in 2025, which is the electric VW camper, right?
Yes, yeah.
Which I'm sure will be adopted where possible by your industry, I'm sure, because for all those same reasons, right? You've got the van there, but it's got its own power source already there too, right? With the battery inside, so heating, cooking, whatever that might be, you know.
That must be an exciting company, an exciting industry to be working in at this time, because there's so much development and focus on it now. And you know, I suppose over the years it's been slow, and now it's building up, and it's, you know, is a lot more need for it now.
Should I'll if I can just talk for a couple of minutes about the charging industry, because it is IONITY are a charging business. So we exist to provide fuel basically to the electric vehicles. And it's with electric, there are more options than with the traditional petrol and diesel, where you would just go to a petrol station and then fill up. I always like to describe the EV charging ecosystem in 3 segments. The first segment being home and workplace.
Yes.
Whereas if people have the opportunity to charge at home and at work, they will do. It's the cheapest and the most convenient. It's like a passive activity. You plug in and it just happens, as opposed to having to stand with the petrol pump, at the station in that regard. So that's kind of the first segment. The second is what I would call destination charging, which tends to be more urban locations, or it could be at tourism destinations perhaps, or at diving centre, where you are visiting that destination to go shopping at the supermarket, as I said, diving centre, something like this, but you plug in as a convenience while you're there. And it's a slower type of public charging that allows you to get some fuel in while you're at the destination. And typically it can be sort of over in an hour to a few hours, depending on what you're doing. And it allows you as the driver to then do these other activities. And again, you sort of charge passively in the background while you're doing that. And then the third segment, which is what IONITY specialise in, is for charging on the go. This is for longer distance journey, into city travel, into country travel. And the difference between this and the first two is that the reason that you visit the first two is for the destination, as I said, you plug in while you're there. Whereas this third segment where we operate, it's our charging hubs are on the side of major motorways and A roads, which typically some more difficult remote locations to get to in that sense from a power and construction perspective. But the reason you're going there is to refuel. So you're making a decision to come off your journey, to visit the location, to refuel. So it has to be, what the driver wants there is for chargers to be accessible and quick, and then know that technology is going to operate. So we only install hubs. We don't just have 1 or 2 chargers. It's a hub, can be 6, 12, or 18 ultra rapid chargers, and our average fueling time is just 24 minutes.
Good,
and that's the average across Europe. So it is really now getting quite fast. Some vehicles will fuel even quicker than that, depending on the type of vehicle. And if you consider now that most electric cars coming to market typically have a 200 to 300 mile range, if you consider that I think the average daily journey time in the UK is 36, 37 miles. So it is already quite a legitimate way to travel. Personally, in December just gone, I drove to Germany. My partner's German. We took the dog, took the EV from West London all the way through to Bonn in northern Germany, and we just had to stop 3 times on the IONITY network to refuel for about 25 minutes each time in our VW ID3.
That's good. And we have used IONITY charger at Cambridge, and I think there were about 6 or 9 there. And it was very easy, and that was our quickest charge. Very easy to use. So for people listening that have got EV cars, obviously there are lots of other companies out there like Instavolt, BP Pulse. So what makes IONITY different to those guys?
Our connection with the motor industry is a big differentiator. There's only ourselves and Tesla actually, but Tesla's a bit of a closed system. Tesla charges for the Tesla cars, but we're owned by the motor industry, and if you consider some of our shareholders like Ford and such, there's 100 years worth of experience there in developing vehicles, and so there's we have that foresight as to what's coming in terms of the marketplace, because although the EV industry more or less is about 10 years old, it's still changing, it will still change, but what's at the forefront of that development is the car itself. So because we are owned by this array of shareholders, which account for about 50% of the cars on the road, we know what's coming next in terms of a technology perspective. So our chargers, our stations, the software and everything that's connected to that. It's all developed, knowing what's coming in the next few years. And an example of that is plug and charge in terms of a payment mechanism. So all of our charging equipment is equipped for plug and charge, and it's a little bit like, as it says on the tin, the cars are like smartphones, as I was saying before, and actually the credit card details are stored in the car itself. So when you arrive at the charger, at the IONITY charger, you plug the car in. If it's enabled for plug and charge, then a digital handshake happens between the car and the charger itself, and then it automatically just starts to charge the car. There's no app, there's no credit card, there's no RFID card. It just starts to charge. It'll calculate at the end how many kilowatts have been consumed and what the agreed rate was, and then it's just automatically billed to that credit card that's stored in the car.
I know that so much easier. Because even in our experience, faffing about with apps or scanning your credit card is just can be quite complicated.
I know that Ford, Mercedes and Porsche already now have this technology enabled in some of their cars, and more of the manufacturers now are going to start to bring this to market. In my opinion, in the future, this is going to be the new interoperability of the future, because you don't need necessarily all of the membership schemes and these kind of things. It will just plug and charge will now allow you to interoperate between the different charger manufacturers. But I welcome the competition and the contribution from the other providers that you mentioned.
Of course.
Collectively, between all of us, we need to be present to help enable consumer choice, and ultimately it's about enabling that switch to electric and net zero, really.
Well, healthy competition drives change, doesn't it? And it drives what's the word?
Advancement.
That's what it drives, isn't it? So I think it's good to have healthy competition, definitely. In any industry.
And picking your locations where you put your charging hubs, you said it's mainly off main roads or like major routes. Is that kind of how you work and how the future is going to work?
So the ambition is for a driver never to be more than 120 kilometers, so more or less every 80 miles from an IONITY ultra rapid charging station. So it's about building a network to enable intercity travel along the strategic road networks, if you like. But it's not just about picking out, the highest traffic roads near the biggest cities. It's about a true network. So there are destinations that we're looking at also. For example, we just had the planning permission awarded at Fort William. So you'll soon see that site come onto our maps. And it's as a classic tourist destination, if you like. So it enables people to not only travel around, but to get in and then get charged and come back out again, if that makes sense. But so we look at this strategic road network to try and build a network in this form, sort of every 80 miles. But what's also important is the customer experience. So when we select sites, we consider the amenities. So we're the specialists in the car through our shareholders and the charging of the vehicle through IONITY. But what we seek is to work with what we call site partners, and they're the experts that run the hospitality, so the amenities, the food and beverage, the toilets, the safety and the shelter for the drivers. 24 minutes average is quick, but it's still enough time for someone to go in, use the toilets, buy tea, coffee, some food, and that's where the sort of the marriage between ourselves and the site partner becomes quite strong. We can help support the site partners with three main aspects, really. We'll lease land from them or purchase land, which is a direct commercial benefit, of course, in a very obvious way. The second is that IONITY will help essentially future-proof that business at our cost. So we come in, we build everything, we make the grid connections. It's our energy supply. It's all of our construction work. It's our hardware. We construct the whole thing, open it, and then operate it at our cost. but it future-proofs that business because it gives them access to on-site EV charging, whether it's for their traditional customer or for new customers that we bring in, which brings us to the third point, which is we bring new additional footfall and new business to that site because someone's coming to charge the vehicle. As I mentioned, those three segments, we're the third. They come to visit that site primarily to charge, but while they're charging there, they'll go in and spend money in the cafe, at the retail park, at the hotel, or whatever the location might be. So it's new footfall, new business to the site as well.
Yeah, that's good. And the picking of sites, what's kind of the time scale from obviously you get an ideal site to actually opening it and being an active charging point? Is it quite a long time scale?
I guess the word long is relative to what someone's expectations are, really. It typically will be for when I first set foot on a site and having an initial conversation with a potential new site partner. It'll be something in the realm of a year to year and a half before we can open the site so it's ready for business.
That's not long.
At the front end, it's about the contract with the site partner. Presuming we can have agreement there. The two main factors really are power and planning. So the first question we have to ask is, can we get power to that site? What's the cost of that, and how long can it take? This is the sort of the primary question, really. And presuming that that's okay, we can satisfy that. Then it's we design the site in conjunction with the site partner, and we submit a planning application. And then once the planning is awarded, we've secured the power. Once planning is awarded, then we can start to get the site to begin the construction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have thought councils are pretty open and want more of this as well. It's all business, isn't it?
Yes, the government, of course, has a very clear target, and it's publicly communicated about its net zero ambition.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd hope that we can continue to support the planning application process and see we can make it quicker than it already is. There is private business like ourselves that's investing in this entirely. It's our cost. We're not seeking government support in terms of funding, so we should align very well with the ambitions. I personally would prefer the planning process to be sped up somewhat, so we can get sites open even quicker. But the biggest hurdle really is power. Is whether or not we can get power to site and when. It's not the grid's fault. It's just moments in time about reinforcing the grid. We've not had requests to get power to these type of locations to this extent before. We were on talking about the side of motorways and major A roads, so the locations traditionally, I guess, are more remote, and it's literally about getting the cabling and having those sort of last mile arteries of the grid, if you like, to these types of locations. And just for perspective, a 12 charger, 350 kilowatt hub of ours, ultra fast, is equivalent to sort of 500-600 homes in terms of power.
Wow.
So it's kind of like and so there's just work that needs to be done to get that to these type of locations. It'll happen. You'll find that the decision, and it's a bit of a misunderstanding publicly. I think people think that the hubs that you see opening today is a conscious choice from the charge point operators, because that's a location that's got high traffic. It's an affluent area, more like to have EVs, etc. It's actually not to do with that. People are genuinely building the network out. It's typically driven actually by where power is available today, more immediately. So of course you build out the hub then, while you start the process, working with the grid to enable the power, which can take years sometimes to get to some locations. So all of this will come. It's just moments in time. If we sort of this is in reality a sort of 20-30 year process before we fully transition to electric. These are small moments in time when we step back and look at it in this lens. It will happen. It's just the next couple of years, whilst we're aligning charging with car sales and such.
Yeah.
There's about 3.5%, 700,000 EVs on the road today in the UK. I think that we'll get, by 2030, I think we'll get to about 20, possibly 25% EVs, cars on the road as EVs, which is around 8 million vehicles.
That's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think probably people's perception is you just set up a charging station and it's that really easy. But, like you say, it's the logistics involved in it that there is a lot more. It isn't like there's cables under the ground everywhere that you can just like tap into.
No, and we spoke to our...
And remember as well, that I'm talking specifically about ultra high power charging, that third segment on the side of motorways. It is, people can, if someone's got off-street parking at home, they can install a home charger. They can do that. It is that is simple, and they can do it. And for many people who have off-street parking, they will never have to visit the petrol station again, if you like.
Yeah.
So pre-electric vehicle, they would have to take the time, visit the petrol station. Whereas with an EV, most of the time they'll arrive home, plug in, and then it'll charge overnight. And in the morning, it's ready, and you go out to work. And for most people, that will be the majority of charging.
Yeah. How do you see people cope then if they live in, say, like a terrace in a rural town or somewhere like that, where it's going to be more difficult for them? How do you think that will go in the future?
In these circumstances, you will need to rely on public charging infrastructure. You will.
Yeah.
It's not just this circumstance. I'm an example as well. I live in London. I don't have off-street parking, as most people don't, and so I'm 100% reliant on public infrastructure. And that's, perhaps there's possibilities for, you've picked out a very specific example, which might, but perhaps there's opportunities for them to charge at work.
I read something.
There'll be this would be like things like the supermarkets. Perhaps there's a rapid charger hub nearby where they'll fuel up. Remember, the vehicles will be giving you 300 miles.
Yeah.
On a full
This
battery,
one is just 320, 300.
Yeah, exactly. Miles. So for most people, that's the whole week. They can fuel up once, and it lasts them the week.
Yeah. I read somewhere a while ago that one of the ideas that were being considered was using some connection with street lamps.
Yeah.
Does IONITY in the presume you must look into research and development of all this. Do you look at different ideas and of the ideas that can possibly work and some that don't, and
Yeah, so this technology, having the charging socket in the street lamp, that exists today. You see that around many cities. Outside where I live here, West London, there's loads of them. Literally, I walk around the streets, and there's loads. It depends on the council and the borough, but a lot of them now have this. But this is a form of, again, going back to the three segments of that charging ecosystem.
Yeah.
I would bracket this as part of your home charging in a way. It's about a very slow charge over a longer period of time at night, while you're asleep. So people are parking on the street because they haven't got off-street parking when they come home, and then they can then plug into either an on-street charger or the lamppost charger, which then enables over many hours the vehicle to charge up over night time, and then in the morning they come, fit the car, and go to work or start their day wherever they go to. But this technology already exists, and it's not what IONITY do. So we're very specialist. Our specialism, and we're quite focused on delivering that, is the high power charging. But there are many other companies that offer this other types of technology, and most, it's all needed to enable the transition. Most drivers will, to some degree, charge across all three of those segments. It just depends on the particular driver's circumstances as to how much they spend on each.
Yeah. We spoke to our dive center, one of our local dive centers, and we said to them, we asked them about, about the future of getting diving, electrical charging points there. And that would be really difficult for them because that's in a quarry, it's rock all the way around. And I guess there will be places where it will be difficult to get into, but as divers, it will just need to factor that in, that, if we're going to go there, if the range is for this, it'd be on its top end, I suppose, of its range, that you just factor in a charge on the way back, same as you would with fuel. Most cars, you think, well, I might have to stop off for fuel or for a bit of a break afterwards. And what's 20-25 minutes? It's nothing.
It's nothing. No, and it is just like stopping for a cup of tea, isn't it?
Yeah. And remember, the 24 minutes average charge time on our network is today, with today's technology, which will evolve. And that's the average charge time. So some vehicles are charging quicker than that already. And charging speed will increase. That average time will reduce over time. And exactly as you said, even if the actual destination you're going to itself can't or doesn't have to have charging facilities, it's fine. You will have access to a fueling station. In today's world, it will be a petrol station, but a 90 rapid hub every 80 miles, right? Perhaps you fill up before at the hub, you go to your destination, you have your holiday there, or go to whatever it is you're there, the diving or whatever it might be, and then you come back out again, you just fill up again on one of the hubs as you come back out. It's exactly how it will work. Some locations may want to offer charging, the destination type charging or overnight type charging, but they don't have to. It can and will work without that.
Do you think in the future you'll get into household energy?
What do you mean by
just a household electric? You'll be able to get power from yourselves.
I mean, it's not, as I said, it's not what IONITY do, but people install domestic home chargers today. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Well, I didn't know whether that would be something on the future that you might get into, like, just trying to think of some power companies. Who you got your power with?
Bulb,
Octopus, and people like that. I didn't know that would be something in the future that you could then expand on to provide and power for households.
IONITY is not a energy supplier, and that isn't what we specialize in. What we'll do, we do ensure and procure green renewable energy that supports all of our chargers. But we work with suppliers to provide that, and with our newest shareholder, BlackRock, who are the one, they joined in December last year. They're the one non-OEM shareholder. They own renewable generation plants across Europe, so wind farms, solar farms. So I'm adamant we'll start to look and see how we can incorporate some of that generation somehow into our supply mix. There's a really nice example where we can do it as well. There's a nice example in the Czech Republic. If anyone that's listened to this that's Czech, they're going to laugh. I think Leversic, the name of the location. I'm sure that's not correct, but I'll give it a go anyway. A really nice example where it's about a kilometre from a hydro generation plant, and we've run a direct wire from that plant to the charging hub, so it's completely off grid. Hydro works really well, of course, because the water's always moving 24 hours, right? So it's not like the sun and the wind. So you've got a constant supply there. So that station's actually off. It's got a direct private wire that runs from there. So it's just a nice example of where we can do it. We will do in terms of these kinds of opportunities.
And hopefully, obviously, it is quite a snapshot in time that we're looking at, but in the future, maybe more hydro stations will appear, because we're an island,
especially
as well.
especially on the west coast. where they have some of the massive tides, don't they? You know, the surge in water coming through, you know, is massive.
Yeah, I think just generally the switch. I mean, the UK is already quite committed now to this switch, and the ambition is to have 100% of our energy from renewable sources. You know, we have, like I said, in Ireland, a lot of opportunity with wind in particular. And I'm sure I read the other day that it was around 30% of our supply now comes from wind. But as I said before, that EVs give that opportunity to help the transport industry and the energy industry converge, and the battery and the storage helps us harness this renewable energy in a way that we never have been able to before.
It's exciting.
I'd never thought about the actual car though powering back in.
No,
because I've always thought about, you know, that you go home, you plug in, and the house charge the car. But in future, you know, powering that back in.
It is probably about education. People obviously see a few electric cars driving around, and there will be like e-transits coming on board soon. But it's just a case of people's education and seeing what an electric car means, you know, as a whole. It's not just getting from A to B. There are other, you know, like running power tools, like taking your house off grid.
I suppose the biggest challenge is mindset, isn't it? You know, because we've been, you know, this is all new to us for most of us, and it's all, you know, new technology and a new way of driving that we're now getting engaged with and thinking about. Right, this is, you know, the options and the where it's going to go is huge.
And people often forget about the whole tailpipe emission piece. I think this is one of the original reasons for EV in the first place was zero emission at tailpipe. So in cities, to help remove the emissions, you know, and that often also gets forgotten. I'm adamant that when I was younger, we went to the pub, people smoked, and in the pub, you remember as a teenager, you were coming out the next morning in the shower, whatever, your hair stank of smoke. You know, if you tell teenagers today that people used to smoke in the pub or indoors, they'll be shocked. They won't believe it, you know. And I'm adamant that in a generation, perhaps two from now, if you told people, younger people, that people used to drive around in petrol and diesel emitting cars and buses in cities. Yeah, you're walking along the street or going for a run perhaps, and behind the diesel bus, they won't believe it, you know, because it'll be you've removed the pollution and the noise pollution. You know, you see some of the homes that are on the busy roads today. The front of the houses, it's all black, you know, because of the fumes and the noise, you know. But and that's going to be gone. It's going to change the even if you look, you know, at this level. It's going to change the life for homeowners in these locations. You know, they won't have a dirty window. They won't hear the traffic noise outside in the way that they do today. You know.
And this brings us back to one of the first things that we talked about. You know, as divers and people who are interested in the marine world, paddle boarders, and you know, we are conscious, we are interested, and you know, when it comes into, you know, changing our next vehicle, is going to be a big option. Is like, right, okay, is now the time to step into an electric car, you know, and because of it's so good to hear from you, you know, how IONITY are offering a sustainable way of charging your car, you know, and this is the message that we now need to get out to people for the future.
And I think it will make our audience think as well, you know, just maybe think a bit further ahead and in a bit more depth about EV cars and the actual process of charging, and you know, those three segments that you have explained at the beginning. No, it's really good. No, so obviously all our guests, we always have a few set questions. So we've kind of tailored we've tailored them a bit for you. So in terms of if you could take 3 people on a road trip, what car would you use and where would you go? and who would you take? So it's quite a complicated question, but
I would. It would definitely be in my new VW ID Buzz camper that I spoke about. The California, I think they're going to call it. And it'll be with my partner Caroline, and our little dog Stitch, the French bulldog. And yeah, probably in a bit of a road trip, really, somewhere like perhaps the Highlands up in Scotland. I think that sounds very good.
Yeah, no, that sounds a good choice.
I just thought a good name for your dog, Sparky.
Sparky. She's called Stitch, but yeah, it's not too far. Yeah.
Cool. Oh, that's good.
We like to give our listeners a bit of a nugget, something, or a bit of a life hack. What would be your message to them, to our listener? What would be your life hack that you could probably share with us?
Life hack. I'm not sure if it's more of an appeal, I guess, really, than a life hack. It's just for everyone to start to really embrace the switch to renewables and just think about the concept of waste, and that's everything from, if you don't need lights on in a room, turn them off. If you don't need the heating all of the time, turn it down. Recycle. Look at the packaging, recycle and things. It's just have that on your mind, and just little small things every day. It doesn't have to necessarily be jumping in and buying an EV today. Great, do that at some point, perfect. But just be conscious and around just generally with waste, as I said, recycle, save energy.
Yeah, and that is so applicable to anybody in any walk of life. Any little effort is better than no effort.
Well, I think if everyone looked after their back, Dave Kennard said that, didn't he? If everyone looks after their little bit of their world and their back garden, that adds up, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, that's great. And the final question is, if you had a billboard that you could put out there to the whole world, so the billboard could be a picture, it could be a saying, it could be a message, what would you put on your billboard?
I'd put 2 words: be happy.
That's great.
Yeah, like that.
Just it's I think people forget sometimes, but just let's just try and do our best we can, work really hard just to be happy. No,
that means a lot, really. It's not, to some people they're unhappy, they're probably earning lots of money, but at the end of the day, if you're happy, you're generally healthy in your mind and your body as well, which is
exactly.
And look forward to the future.
Absolutely.
No, it's been really good, Andreas. Really informative as well, and probably brought another dimension to kind of the EV standing at the moment.
I think the 3 points are really important, because range, you hear people talk about range, stress, and things like that, and it's so good hearing like the 3 elements of where charging points are going to be, because you're never going to be all that far away from one, no matter where you go. And divers, we like to roam, like everyone, like other people do, and it's good to know that chances are where you're going to be head, you're not going to be far away. You're not going to be far away from an IONITY charger, and that's really good to hear. That's what we need. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, and to hear the expansion of the company as well, with the support of the motor industry, is really good.
We have I think it's around 1,800 charging points today across Europe, and we're financing, our plan is to make that 7,000 by 2025 across Europe in 24 countries.
So if people want to find out more about IONITY, where are the best places for them to go and read up a little bit more or look at your network?
Just the website is updated daily with new chargers, new charging stations that come to life, and some of the case studies, like the Czech Republic one, for example. So www.ionity.eu.
Great.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah, we'll put the link into the show notes so that people can then just click on that and head over to the website and learn a little bit more. But yeah, really,
it's been really good. And thank you for giving us some of your time today. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, great. Lovely to talk. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, that was brilliant, and I really enjoyed that. And great location. So,
being very happy. Oh, there we go.
yeah, we're in a great location, and had a little couple gremlins trying to attack us because we're relying on the 4G network. But we are, if it's not particularly clear, we are right underneath one of the windmills, wind turbines
at Kessingland in Suffolk. Yeah, so this is all.
What's one calling it windmill?
Well, it's got sails.
Windmills. We like windmills. Everyone likes windmills.
So, yeah, so we're on a location where there are 2 wind turbines, and obviously they're generating green energy.
I guess if you're in the offshore industry and put these things up, calling it a windmill is a bit like calling a diver mask goggles.
Yes, or flippers on you.
My brother was calling diver mask goggles the other day, and flippers fins. Flippers and fins. Well, So anyway, that's where we are, and it's an awesome place to park, and it's a relevant place to park when you're sitting in a fully electric car.
Yeah, and also we're
the top man in IONITY.
Yeah, we're on a site called Africa Live, and they specialise in like zoological sort of projects and endangered species.
Yes,
so it's it all fits in well with like planet conservation.
It does. Yeah,
looking after the species that are pretty rare. So
yeah, it's a nice place. But I want to say thank you for Andreas coming on.
Yes, great.
And giving us his time this morning. And he's a busy man. He's got a lot going on.
Yeah, but very informative.
Imagine his inbox, he's organising all these sites and things like that for us all.
I think it's a very interesting job, but equally really interesting to learn a bit more about the electric charging network and what's involved.
I get it. I love the sound of a V8 and a V10, and I do. I'm a bit like Bill Ford, loves the sound of a
but you've been converted.
V8. But it's still whether we like it or we don't. EVs are here to stay. We are going that way. It's more important, that we have a sustainable way of motoring, and as divers, as conscious consumers, is going to play a bigger part, when we come to changing our next vehicle. We need the networks to expand, don't we?
Yeah, and I think Andreas summarised it quite well. People only look at a very short time window, but this EV subject is
and that might be down to the finance, because when you go to your local dealership, no matter what brand it is, you sit there, don't you, and you think, right, I'm going to finance. After buying a car. After buying a house,
car's the next big thing.
Your car purchase is your next big thing, and you either rent it, lease it, buy it outright, or nick one. But you generally, you normally lease it or finance it some way, don't you? PCP and all that, which are usually a 3-year deal, aren't they?
Yeah.
And you are going to be thinking about, right, okay, 3 years time, that's going to bring us up to 2027, isn't it?
Not far off.
You think how quick technology is coming out and changing. 3 years is, although it is a short period of time, it's also a long period of time in the world of development, because so much things are coming out.
And technology, the pace of the advancement will increase. It's just natural, because we are in this technological age.
And it's good that we're in this car with a range of 320, because when I had that, when I've had another electric car, you kind of think, right, okay, somewhere along the line before I go home, I'm going to have to work in a charge, which could affect your drive time, because you think, right, okay, how long do I be on site for?
And the enjoyment of your day.
Yes, but if you're thinking that charges now are going to be down to like 25 minutes, I bet you if you go fill your car up with fuel, you're there at the petrol station 15 minutes.
Yeah, and say you go and get a cup of tea while you're at the garage.
25 minutes actually in the whole course of a day. For us to go into say Stony Cove, other dive sites are available. It's a turnaround of 300 miles, isn't it?
Yes.
So potentially we should be able to do this on one charge in this car.
Yeah. Well, one day we might find out.
Or you charge on the way home, but we generally stop anyway.
We do, yeah. And driving is about enjoying driving and not driving for 8 hours or 3 hours solid.
Yeah, definitely
everybody
not.
needs to have a break. So.
No, but I think there's a lot of things. We're all going through this transition of development in technology. It's a different way of thinking, isn't it?
Yeah. But I think that was a really good conversation with him.
And game changer to me was using your car to power the house. I was like, why haven't we thought of that before?
Well, it's just evening out that spike of electricity use.
Yeah, I was just like, why not?
And plugging cars in at home, the time it takes for them to charge at home will increase. The time taken will shorten. So you think how far it's kind of like, although these have been about 10 years, but it's just like a slow transition, a slow movement of technology, when there's only like Tesla and a couple of others are about mainly doing the odd Nissan Leaf, I think is another one. But look at these cars now. Look at this. It's a real smart looking car, isn't it? And you think, wow, if you had this on your drive, how chuffed would you be? Yeah. Well, even we're sitting in the back seat and it's got panoramic sunroof. Well,
we need to give a shout out actually to so with this car today, because we've only borrowed it for a couple of hours, it's been supplied by our local Ford dealership, by AWD Hammond Group based in Halesworth. They've got other dealerships, but we need to say thank you to John Baker, even, and his team who's lent us this car for the last couple of hours.
It's been great. So, and I think Andreas appreciated it, didn't he?
Yes. So thank you to Africa Alive.
Yes,
for letting us park up here on their field.
Yeah. So check out our social media. Obviously, when this podcast comes out, we'll have pictures of the car and links.
We also need to say thank you to our lovely friends over at 90 for being great sponsors.
So sponsoring this podcast. And just thank you to everybody that's downloaded this episode, and thank you for listening. If you've got any questions about IONITY, let us know.
And we're actually recording this on our 3rd birthday.
Yes, happy birthday.
So yes, so we want to say big thank you to everyone who listens to us on a regular basis, who downloads us, and thanks for sticking with us for 3 years. My goodness.
But it's been a great 3 years. It's flown by, and it's been great to meet amazing people. So thank you very much.
But for right now, I think that was
the Big Scuba Podcast.
Now that does wrap up today's episode of the Big Scuba Podcast. But if you want to hear more from the podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button depending on what platform you are listening on. That way you will never miss an episode from us. But if you are listening on Apple Podcasts and did enjoy what you heard today, we would really appreciate it if you head to the show page to leave a 5-star rating and review. It really does help us. If you do, please take a screenshot of that review and send it to us on Instagram, and we'll give you a shout out to say a big thank you. If you have any questions for us or anything that has been mentioned in today's episode, be sure to reach out to us on any of our social media platforms or send us an email. The links are in the show notes. We will get back to you no matter what. If you have made it to this point in the episode, we both want to say a big thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.